Hello everyone, Sean Reeves with American Pest CEUs. I'm an associate certified entomologist and I've been in the pest management industry since 1999. Today's course is going to be titled Financing Pest and Termite Services. And I can tell you up front, if you're not doing this is definitely something you want to look into. As we go through this course, we're going to talk to you about all the reasons why you can sell a lot more when you're selling on payments and financing than if you're asking for all that money up front. Let's talk about the big idea of this course. After taking this course, you will be able to explain how people view a monthly payment versus a big total amount, explain how people will spend 33% more when they can stretch out payments, explain the concept of how financing relates to selling multiple services, and providing complete protection of their homes. You'll also be able to demonstrate how to do a full proposal of complete protection to a homeowner. Let's start this course by talking about the financing revolution. Prior to the 1950s, borrowing money through credit was relatively uncommon. You may have heard of this from your grandparents or older people. They really didn't believe in taking on debt. As a matter of fact, a lot of these people still like to pay cash nowadays. People were accustomed to saving and paying cash for all purchases, which was a really smart idea, especially back in those days. Interest rates were really high and it didn't make sense to finance things. It was the baby boomer generation that started this trend of taking on debt to finance purchases of goods and services. So the baby boomers really changed everything. They were the ones that said, wait, we want things now. We don't want to wait as long. So they started taking on debt and looking at financing totally different. And that's part of what we want to talk about today. The fact that they're looking at financing totally different makes it not such a bad thing, whereas their parents would have said there's no way I'm going into debt for anything. And that's why we're going to talk today about monthly payments and getting people things they need, but also in ways that they can afford it. So let's talk about that revolution. There's the peace sign, baby. This is the generation that gave us the peace sign, right? This new thing called credit drastically changed the way we lived our lives. This period changed our lifestyles and our ability to purchase goods and services. People had a substandard quality of life up to this point in history. This credit revolution has led to the biggest economic expansion in history and drastically improved our quality of life. I think that's really important to note. A lot of people do see debt as a bad thing, and I agree in some ways, but in other ways I don't. If we didn't take on debt for things like mortgages, cars, things like that, we wouldn't be able to survive nowadays. But also you have to think to yourself, when you're making monthly payments on things, that's pretty normal, even if it's something like termite protection on your home. How many of you pay a monthly bill for your homeowner's insurance, for your car insurance? Kind of common, right? I mean, who doesn't pay that monthly? So at the end of the day, this idea of not financing things makes sense in some ways, but not in others, because when you're dealing with things that go up in value like your home, it always makes sense to protect it. And that's why we're talking about this revolution where we got a generation of people that said, wait a second, there's things I need, or at least I want, and I want to be able to do it, but I want to be able to do it on payments. And that's how we got to where we are today, where there is a higher standard of living. I would definitely say the standard of living became much higher when people could finance things. How many of you would want to go live back in 1951? Probably wasn't that great a quality of life, right? Maybe Leave It to Beaver show looked cool, but at the end of the day, you wouldn't have the things you have today. Financing in today's economy. Let's fast forward to today's economy. When is the last time you paid cash for a car? How about a home? Of course, you and all of us know that all we need to do is finance our purchases. Let's take a look at how our clients view this when they purchase. Finally, we have reached a point in the pest control industry where we can sell our services on a monthly payment. This is huge because up to this point, most of us have had to ask people for anywhere from $600 to $4,000 up front to protect their homes. But wait. Doesn't everyone budget their bills monthly? Maybe the better question to ask is, how many of you have $3,000 laying around in your bank account? Probably not many. If we look at it, a recent consumer financing survey said 50% of Americans have less than $3,000 in their accounts. And this is from a little while back. It's now 2024. I would say the average person now may be under $1,000. So we really need to start to think when you're selling these bigger services or you're cross-selling, you're trying to sell multiple services, are you really getting in front of people with something they even have the ability to purchase if you're asking for that cash up front? I'm going to say the answer to that in a lot of cases is no. What if we started thinking monthly payments? One of the hardest transitions for salespeople is to go from asking for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, to asking for $40 per month. You wouldn't think this would be such a big deal. I mean, how much easier is it to sell $40 a month at $3,000 up front? I can tell you that people get used to what they're used to. I know so many people that are used to going in and they're bidding on termite protection, pest control, maybe a vapor barrier and a crawl space, and they're telling people, hey, look, it's only $3,250. But why wouldn't it be easier to sell that for $40 a month? That's why we're bringing financing in here. We just solved the problem that people budget their money monthly, right? If they budget monthly, then we already know what we're proposing needs to fit in their monthly budget, and technically that's it. That alone tells us we're on the right track when we think about just focusing on that monthly payment. Let's talk about proposing full pest and termite protection. Let's assume you have a homeowner that is interested in purchasing a pest control service. Now, let's assume you did a great inspection, including a rockstar graph. You have built a case for CTPP, or complete termite and pest protection. You then sit down with the homeowner and articulate the needs and benefits of CTPP services for their home. Okay, work with me for a minute. Let's say the pest control service on their home is $600 for the first year, subterranean termite control is $1,000, and drywood termite control is $600. I bet you can see the problem here. You're asking this homeowner for $2,200 all at once. Think back to what we said a few slides back. Half the population has less than $3,000 in their bank account. Let's be honest, even if they do, many people want to hold on to their cash in case of an emergency. This is where the game changer of financing comes in to save the day. And I'm just making a point here for everybody. Even if people have money in their bank accounts, they don't want to spend it, they want to save it, or they want to hang on to it in case of an emergency. How many financial planners and financial gurus say, hey, you need to save up 3 to 6 months of expenses in case you lose your job or whatever? This makes it really hard for somebody to give you this type of money. That's why I'm saying financing now can come in and save the day. Putting that financing in practice. Let's take the same scenario and say the homeowner pays $600 cash for the pest control service and finances the rest. That's where the beauty of complete termite and pest protection comes in, because we only need to ask for $600 out of their pocket. The other $1,600 can be financed. Let's lay out how that looks. Okay, let's look at another financing scenario. Let's take the same numbers and again assume that the homeowner has paid $600 for their pest control service in cash and still needs to finance the other $1,600 for drywood and subterranean termite services. The difference is this time we will finance them for a term of 5 years. Our payment then becomes only $38.60 per month and is completely paid after the 5-year term. In essence, we have made the total termite protection and pest control protection of their home completely affordable by converting it into bite-sized monthly payments. This is a huge thing here, guys. You may be looking at this and going, $38.60 per month, let me think about what that looks like. That's not much, right? We're talking about a little over $1 a day to get you the termite protection you want on your home. Anyone who says they can't afford this probably can't afford to be a homeowner anyway, so I really think anybody that owns their own home can afford a payment like this. But I want you to think about that $38.60 per month. What is the total of that over a 5-year period if we times that by 12 by 5 years? This is basically what makes financing work for the homeowner, for the pest control company, and the salesperson. If you look at those payments over a 5-year period, the customer is going to be paying $2,316. Where's the extra money going, right? It was only $1,600. Every finance company you sign up with is going to have a finance fee, so that's going to be factored in. Also, they're going to get an interest rate on the payments. What I'm saying to you is the customer is paying the finance fee, they're paying the interest rate, so the pest control company gets the $1,600 they're looking for. This is a win-win-win scenario. The company, the customer, and the salesperson all wins. You can't beat this scenario. So what does all of this really mean? Look, I know you will still have cash buyers, and they are sometimes going to be our best customers. So we're not going to quit selling cash, right? Anybody who wants to write a check and understands that financing may not be the best option for them, great. Take their money by all means. The goal of this financing program is to give everyone the opportunity to protect their home. As I mentioned earlier in our study, financing has improved the quality of life for the masses. No longer can just the rich afford to have a better lifestyle. My point there by saying this is the fact that financing pretty much has become a part of all of our lives. So we may as well understand, especially when we're investing in things that protect our homes, we're investing in things that go up in value. Financing is not always bad. We need to finance certain things. We need to protect our investments. So if you look at it that way, you're going to understand the fact that the customer's getting something they need, you're helping them out through the financing. Quite honestly, there's no way anybody can lose in a scenario like that. So if you're like me, you're probably thinking, what does this all look like at this point? Let's talk about a proposal using financing. Here's my proposal using financing. I'm sitting at the table with the homeowner going over my graph, showing all the current pest issues and the ones we need to protect them from in the future. After I build the value, I say to the homeowner, for the complete termite and pest protection I've just described, it's only $599. Notice that $599 spoken in words sounds much less expensive than $600 and $38.60 a month thereafter. Do you think you can afford $38.60 a month to protect your $300,000 investment? What I'm saying to you here is the fact that we laid this out where they are going to put some money out up front. It really doesn't make sense to finance pest control in most occasions, but we're giving them the termite control for the $38.60 per month. I also want you to understand you need to finance your renewal fees in this as well. So I'm just using a scenario of $1,600. Maybe you guys are charging $150, $200, $250, $300 a year for your termite renewals. Go ahead and factor in the renewals for as long as the financing goes. So technically, we could be giving them a 5-year termite protection plan with our renewals already financed in. How great would that be to have that type of recurring revenue? The bottom line here is the monthly payment brings it home. You see how I worded that last phrase. I spoke about the monthly payment because that is how almost everyone budgets their bills. Just to get them used to saying yes to me, I often preface that phrase with, "You budget your bills monthly, correct?" Awesome. I already have them trained to say yes. Don't worry, if at any point they say they just want to pay cash, go ahead and take it. We're definitely not going to say no to that. This again is just a perfect scenario. Okay, so I know some of you are saying this. This is all great, but I could have sold that pest service without financing it. That's great. I have no doubt you could have because you're good at what you do. The bigger point here is what you and the homeowner are missing out on. Instead of complete protection on their home, biggest investment in their life, they just don't have to worry about ants. Oops, the termites just shoot through their walls like a buzzsaw, and you left them unprotected with a skinnier wallet in your pocket. So let's talk about what services are best suited for financing. The reality is there's countless scenarios where financing can come into play. We're working on courses right now talking about add-on services. You know, in this industry, there's an unlimited number of add-on services that we could start offering. So just off the top of your head, you would probably understand that some of the biggest opportunities are in fumigation, subterranean termite, drywood termite, bedbug services, insulation services, crawl space encapsulations, rodent exclusions, and many more. We could probably talk about this all day and not hit them all. If we were to think about this on an even higher level, we could take this financing ability and add services to our companies that previously wouldn't have made sense on paper. I say that specifically because having been in the business since 1999, I know every company is looking for some add-on services. How can we make more money, or how can we stay busy in our slow seasons? This is again where financing can come in and save the day. We're going to be looking at some bigger ticket items, say like a crawl space encapsulation. That could be upwards of $20,000, maybe even $25,000. I've seen them go up to $30,000. Most people are not going to write you a check for that. So we come in with the financing, we break this thing down on good monthly payments. Obviously, we're going to have a good sales presentation. People aren't going to spend that kind of money without it. But when you lay that out under a monthly payment, it becomes more affordable, and it gives your client the ability to make a decision to buy a bigger ticket item like that where previously there's no way they could have jumped that high. Alright, let's do a little recap here. The financing revolution has changed the way people spend money. Financing has helped the common Joe to have the ability to enjoy a good lifestyle. The reality is people budget their money monthly, and they need to be offered pest and termite protection at a reasonable monthly rate. Financing works especially well on big ticket items that the homeowners really need. Financing is a win-win for you, the client, and the company. Alright everyone, one last final thought on this. I know a lot of you don't have financing set up with your companies. This is a great opportunity for you now to start looking into this. I know there's companies like Green Sky Financing and other banks that will let you do financing through them. Basically, go to your local credit union, go to your local bank, go to somewhere like Green Sky, let them know what you want to do, and see what the possibilities are. You know, I actually don't have any sponsors on this, and I probably should. As we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking, here's a great opportunity for myself, right? You guys are probably even looking for referrals. Maybe in the future, I'll go out and find some banks that are willing to help us out and be a part of this. But this is what I'm saying, and I'm going to close out with this. Everything we've talked about is opportunity for you. Take what you've learned here today, get set up with financing, whatever you can do, and then present these monthly payments to your clients and watch your sales grow exponentially. Thank you for choosing American Pest CEUs.